will control the vertical.
Welcome to Anthologic, the TV anthology podcast. I am your host, Mark. Anthologic is a podcast dedicated to exploring the good, the bad, and the odd of horror, science fiction, and the best of mystery suspense anthology shows and series on TV. Join me as we slip through the cracks of reality to approach the extremes of experience, where we can peruse the stories and art of a sinister fairground of strange and wonderful rides. And now we go on to the show that is the focus of this particular episode. Welcome to this episode of Anthologic with your host Mark. Today we're covering an episode of The Twilight Zone. Okay, this was Season 1, Episode 17, written by Rod Serling, so it's a classic Twilight Zone episode when it's written by Rod Serling. Directed by Robert Florey, and stars two main characters, Everett Sloane as Franklin Gibbs and Vivi Janice as Flora Gibbs, a sort of middle-aged couple, and the story opens with the usual opening narration, where Rod Serling talks about they've won a holiday to Vegas, but he's going to succumb to an illness. Franklin is going to come to an illness he didn't bargain for called the fever. It turns out this couple are in Vegas because she has won a contest, a slogan contest, and I think its third prize is this all expenses paid holiday to Vegas for a couple of days or 2 nights. Now we find out he detests gambling, but we get these photographers taking pictures of them, and they're saying, "Oh no, you're a really important guest," and they kind of say side mouth, in the last 2 days we never, for competition winners, but. We find out the husband hates gambling, but she's very excited. They go through the casino, and she just happens to put a nickel in a slot machine. Franklin does his nut, basically. He goes off on one, going on about how it's a complete waste of money. You should never do stuff like that. And she says, "Well, I've put it in now. I can't get it out. I may as well pull it." She goes, "Go on then, continue your foolishness." And she pulls it, doesn't win, and it gives him another opportunity to have a go about what a horrible, detestable place this is. Now, I read the short story this was based on, that was accompanying this. I think it was in a compendium called More Episodes of The Twilight Zone by Rod Serling. They're all on Kindle. They're quite a good little, I think there's 3 books in the collection. They're kind of fun. And this was in the middle one, which I think, as I say, was called More Episodes. And it goes into a little more detail how their churchgoers have a very, very regular, predictable sort of schedule and life, and how he loves his schedules, and when he gets upset by this competition, he doesn't like it. When it disrupts his schedule, it disrupts him. He gets very aggravated by this. I think he's on the spectrum, actually, somewhat. But he finally goes because his wife basically gets really angry about not being able to go, and he figures it's free. He doesn't have to take time off work because it's over a bank holiday weekend. So he demurs and goes with her. But the fact she puts money in the machine disgusts him. In the meantime, he suddenly gets kind of separated from her, and a drunk kind of grabs him and says, "Hey, buddy, help me out," and makes him put the drunk's $1 coin in a slot machine, but the drunk wanders off. Now Franklin tries to figure out how to get the money back, but he can't, so he just pulls the arm, and of course wins I think $10. And then he says, now I'm going to show you, Flora, what you should do when you come across money like this. You should just keep it. Only a fool puts it back. All these other fools would just put it back, but I'm not going to do that. We're going to keep it. And they go through. But then we see him having a restless night. In fact, not even going to bed. He's sort of pacing about, and his wife wakes up and says, "What's up, Franklin?" And he says, "I can't keep this immoral money. I have to go put it back." But really, you could tell he just wants to go back and use the machine. And go back he does. Bareback he does. Starts pumping this machine full of coins, winning now and again, losing more, over and over. And then we see he keeps cashing checks. Flora comes and finds him because she wakes up when he's not there and sort of says, Franklin, maybe you should stop now. How much money have you lost? He goes, never mind that. He's kind of obsessed. A typical sort of junkie addict's reaction. Oh, in a minute it'll be fine. It's funny that this is really an on the nose story about a gambling addiction. There's no subtext. As Garth Marenghi says, subtext is for cowards, and that's how it is here with Rod Serling. It's really exactly about gambling addiction. This man cannot stop using this machine and gets convinced certain things are jinxing him, like his wife being there haranguing him about the money he's spending is jinxing him, or something else is jinxing him. So he's just obsessed with this one machine, saying it'll pay out in a minute, catches 3 checks overall. I think in the written story he loses something like $3,800 in one long session where he's sitting there for like 15 odd hours just playing this machine. Plays it all night, plays it into the next day. And even the casino workers have noticed him and sort of make fun of him or think he's mad, gone a bit crazy. He's never seen one quite like this. But he does need to sleep, but he just refuses to. Anyway, he runs down to his last dollar, puts it in, the machine malfunctions and will not spend it. And he loses his 10%. Give me back my dollar. He knocks the machine over and then he's taken, kind of dragged screaming out of the casino. And then we see him in bed and saying he was about to pay off. It deliberately went wrong because it was about to pay off and it should have given me money. Then he starts hearing the machine calling his name. Now there's an interesting story about this machine voice, which is okay. It sounds like a weird mechanical, bit like Sparky the talking piano kind of voice, but sort of more metallic. They had went to quite efforts to try and get a metallic voice here. What they did is they basically got a load of nickels. They found nickels made the right sound, poured them through a pipe and recorded the sound. And then they strapped 2 speakers playing the sound to a man's throat, each side of his throat, and when he opened his mouth, the sound of these machines came out of his mouth. And then they got the man to mouth Franklin. And then they recorded that sound. And that's what it is. There's quite a lot of effort to go to this, actually. But it sounds a bit goofy, actually. And then he's lying in bed, but he hears the machine calling his name, and then he kind of sees it coming towards him. Flora can't see it, but he can see it, and basically he backs out into a window and falls to his death. Okay, there's another story about the machine in this. They could not, where they were filming, it was illegal to have one-armed bandits. It was just illegal. So they couldn't even find one at the props department. So they basically had to arrange with the police to get one that had been confiscated, bring it to the studio and use that. But all times it had to be under police guard. It was literally that serious for them to be able to use it. His body's, the police turn up, he's dead. And they say something about, his wife said he hasn't slept for over 24 hours, so he thinks there's something there. The casino owner actually mentions, I've seen a lot of them hooked, but never quite like this. And then we see him lying there, and the last dollar kind of roll up and spin near his body. And then we see the slot machine. The camera pans up and we see the slot machine there. So there we go. A gambling story. It's not even an allegory. It's basically a gambling story. If it's an allegory, it's an allegory about other addictions, perhaps, or possibly even about sort of rationality and irrationality. And how you can get obsessed with anything, right? It's possible. This guy basically called the Fever. There's not much more to it than that. Music was alright. It was kind of jazzy and fun, fitting for the era. The 2 leads were very solid, very good performances for both of those. I thought they were solid, and the bit about the second second-tier actors. They were fine too. Reasonably okay Twilight episode. It didn't set the world alight, but it was solid and did what it did. And I always appreciate a script from Rod Serling directly. I think they always, you could just tell a Rod Serling one, the way the wordplay and so on. And this was a fun one. This was a kind of a fun one. So I think I'll wind out there. But before I go, may I ask, is anybody out there?
I'm not.
We now return control of your television set to you until next week at this same time, when the control voice will take you to